Hey guys, and welcome back to Culture Boys, a show where two guys just want to have a chat. I'm Nathan, and as always, I'm joined by Pepe. And this week, we are back for another manga corner.
Yeah.
And this time, it's just going to be the one.
hmm
And this time, we're back with another Pepe manga.
Yeah, my trash tastes. But yeah, I think like after the last couple videos we did with this, I was like, I wouldn't mind like going back to some other manga that I used to read as well. And just having a go at that again. Because like, if any of you who's watched the manga through the decades episode that we did, you might have noticed that I recommended this manga called Enigma. It started ages ago, back in like 2009, 2010, 2010 it started.
Originally published September 13th,
September
2010.
13th, 2010, exactly. And like, I remember when this manga came out, like, I was amazed. I was like, this is sick. What the hell? Like, I got really like into it. But I haven't actually read it at all since it was cancelled. So that was like, yeah, 13 years ago.
And
uh,
it had a decent run because it ran till October 31st,
yeah,
2011. So it
ran
went
for
over
a
a year.
Yeah, I know exactly why it ran for that long as well. I will go more into it as the episode goes on.
Okay, cool. Then before we get any further,
hmm
why don't you give us a breakdown, Pepe, of what Enigma is about?
Enigma. It's about this high school student called Haiba Sumio, who he's pretty much like a normal high school kid in the loosest sense because he also has an extraordinary ability, and that ability is every time he falls asleep, he can predict the future by writing in his dream diary that he has. So literally, he falls asleep and then is able to like predict events that are coming up, and he can stop them through that. And like, it sounds his like kind of like motivation is he wants to stop the future because he kind of like technically hates this diary, but he doesn't like he's like, oh, okay, this thing's wrong. I want to decide the future myself. So he takes control, changes it however he wants. Anyway, he has this ability, and then one day when he comes home, his mum goes missing. Like, what? Mad. He gets a prediction about it. And he tries to stop it. Like, he tries to go to his friend's house first because it's the prediction is uh a woman with long hair in your life is going to go missing. And he's like, oh,
In an
that's
elevator, yeah.
yeah, in an elevator, correct. And like, he goes to his friend Shigeru's house, and she's actually fine. And he's like, wait, there's only one other woman that it could be then. And then by the time he tries to rescue his mum, it's too late. She's gone missing. She's in the elevator, but it's under really mysterious circumstances because she literally goes into that elevator and he opens the doors straight away and she's gone. So so he gets like taken to the police station, like whatever. Like, it's weird. Like, he's in that hospital as well, weren't he? Like, really enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, and meanwhile, like, there's a lot of stuff going on. There's this really suspicious kind of symbol following him around, and it's known as Enigma. And like, in the first 5 chapters, you're not really sure what Enigma is. But what it has done though is um, one time where Subio falls asleep, he wakes up and he's in the school. He's like, what the hell's going on here? He's been kind of kidnapped by Enigma as well, but he's now in a group of about 7 other people. I think it's 7? Was it 6? I can't
I
remember.
think it's 6 other people, 7
6.
including him.
It's 7 including him. There we go. And he is trapped in the school, and there ensues some kind of Saw. You know the movie Saw, Jigsaw, that
Yeah.
kind of thing. Like, there's some kind of like mad Saw game going on. Like, Enigma has held these 7 students hostage, and no particular reason why, but if they do escape, they get their wish granted to them. And Sumio's wish is to have a parent return to him. And as the series goes on, we find more about the 6 other people. Obviously, you know a little bit about Shigeru, his childhood friend. There, she's there as well. Forgot about that. She's
Yeah.
there. She's been taken with them, and but yeah. So we find out a bit more about these 6 other students as the manga goes on, and they have to solve puzzles, try and escape the school within 72 hours, and that's pretty much the story of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is like the summary of the first chapter. But yes, I think like I
Well, I
remember
wouldn't say first chapter. There's literally
there's a few other bits that are included
it
in that,
goes
but like
almost goes up to basically the 5 chapters we read.
yeah. In
But
some ways.
yeah,
I think it's interesting
there
though, like this
it's
manga.
funny you would just go straight to Saw as a comparison. There's definitely one comparison I would make.
Oh yeah, what did you say? Sure.
I would have said Danganronpa personally.
See, I also thought Danganronpa as well. I mean, like you can kind of make the connections with it, like quite quickly, aren't there?
I had to look this up to see what came first though, because I didn't want to make that and say something like, "Oh yeah, one came before the other," but
Yeah,
Enigma came first,
that's
but
mad,
not
you
by
know. Yeah.
much because the first Danganronpa's original release was the 25th of November 2010.
Oh wow, so
So
literally like a
like,
couple. Yeah,
yeah,
okay, yeah.
it's literally a couple of months and like 2 weeks
That's
or
funny,
something.
you know. Like that's. I think maybe that's why. I will say this as well. Like Enigma did like really well within its first arc as well. Like as you mentioned earlier, it ran for a year and it has like
Yeah,
7 volumes, and it actually did really well. But I'll get into a reason later about why it stopped. But yeah, it's like it's mad. Like at the time that to think that Danganronpa launched around the same time as that because like undescribably very very similar concepts.
yeah, it is. It's a bunch of students trapped in a school setting. There's some sort of weird game or death game. It depends on which one you're talking about.
Yeah.
I can't say for Enigma. I only read 6 chapters, but like
6.
there's seemingly a death game,
Yes.
and they have something about them that makes them special. And in Danganronpa, for those who don't know, each student there is like the ultimate
Oh,
something
of
student.
course.
Like they're the
Yeah.
best at that one thing. Whereas like Enigma, they've got special abilities, and you can sort of see where the parallels are drawn.
Like, yeah, I forgot to mention that as well. Yeah, of course. Like, Sumio obviously has his future prediction with his dream
Yeah,
diary, but
it's
each other student
premonitions.
as well also has some sort of
Yeah, they've got
power.
something going on. And like you can also still keep drawing like parallels because it's like Danganronpa's got Monokuma, and then
Yeah.
Enigma is this mysterious thing that's like controlling the game. So it's like it is kind of straight. Like, could you imagine these both creators or whatever, like just working completely independent, and they both happen to just come up with something almost exactly the same?
Around the same time as well. You'd
Yeah,
be like,
like
what?
it's mad, isn't it?
Both like, yeah, Japanese mediums. One's just a manga, one's a fucking video game. Like
Yeah,
you would not like you couldn't predict that kind of thing. Like
like
no way
it's
would you.
crazy that they are crazy similar, and like this is the last time I'll make the comparison
Mhm.
because like you know it sounds like reductive now
Mhm.
if I keep going, but like both franchises, like both series, also have like the characters are kind of tropey in certain ways.
Mhm. Oh,
So
absolutely,
like
yeah. Can
it
definitely tell.
it the comparisons really it feels like it's endless, but I will stop there.
Yeah. I mean, you're completely right. I think going back to this as well, I didn't realize how kind of tropey it was. There's a lot of there's a lot of character, not
Like once the
designs, but
characters
also
are
like kind of
well,
like
the
personalities
designs
as
are
well.
kind of weird, but yeah, the personalities of the characters. Once they're like, you get into it, you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So this is you forever.
Yeah. I mean, you've got your like your class president, you got your like kind of delinquent character, you got your like I don't know,
You
like
got
posh
your
girl, like and stuff like
yeah, your stuck up tsundere rich girl. You got your childhood friend who's always happy. You
Yeah,
got
so
the
many
scared
tropes, so
kid.
many tropes. But yeah.
Like, yeah, it was. I thought it was called this Enigma. I'm really surprised that I hadn't read it before. But
Yeah, it was a strange time around that, like, because
I mean,
obviously
around then, I think I would have just been getting into reading manga anyway, so I probably would never have
yeah.
seen this.
I think this is like yeah, this was like a week to week where this is where like I found out that this was in Jump at the time, and I was like, okay, cool, I'll give it a shot. And then yeah, that's how it all just went from there, basically. Like I think it,
Yeah,
yeah.
fair.
Again, like it was a year, like so you probably like by the time I probably recommended it to you as well, it probably almost been finished. So it was like,
I'm not gonna lie though. I feel like the Manga Through the Decades episode was the first time I'd ever heard of this.
Yeah, that's
So
one thing. It's one of those ones where like no one would really have heard of this at all outside of these episodes, really. Like apart from back in like 13 years ago, like no one talks about this. No one
I mean,
talks
that's
about the series at all.
why we started this whole like series, innit? Outside of our manga reviews, this is why we do it, so we can talk about things that we know that we like and is like a little underrated, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think this is what like, I mean, divulging away from the actual manga itself for a moment. Like, this series kind of like, I don't know, brings in those like random mangas that were like a little bit under the radar into the light a little bit. I guess. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
on our small channel at least. So I don't know, it's something. I guess. Yeah, like. There's something about this art as well. I don't know what it is, but like again, I did
It
say
seems
it looked
familiar.
familiar. I think especially like there's a mascot character in this as well,
Yeah, I feel like I've
called
seen that mascot somewhere
yeah, Aru Mizusawa is what character's
because
called.
they were yeah, the character was like, "Oh, I have a part-time job in a show and I'm the police mascot."
Yeah, so and he can't actually get out of his suit. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I swear I've seen that character somewhere. I feel
I
like I have.
I tell you what, you probably haven't, but it is because like it looks so freaking. It looks like it's taken inspiration from like loads of different things. It looks like a little bit Astro
Yeah.
Boy. It looks a little bit like Dragon Ball with the helmet and
Yeah,
stuff
I
like
think
that.
you're
Like
right. Maybe that's what it
yeah,
is. It's just generic enough
it's
and like
so generic.
that
Like
it
yeah,
feels like you've seen it, but you haven't.
it's kind of like I don't know. It gives off like Teddy vibes from Persona a little bit as well. Like obviously it's a mascot
Yeah.
character as well. Like so it's easy
I don't know.
comparison
Like
to draw there. But
this is
yeah.
like a very British thing,
Mhm.
but it kind of reminds me of like the Fairy Liquid mascot, you know, the baby.
I mean, yeah, I can actually see that as well. It literally looks like it's
Yeah.
like
So like we have a branded dish soap here, and it looks kind of like that.
yeah. Image is up on screen now.
Yeah, like,
That's what it
but
looks.
it kind of just looks like that.
Yeah,
So maybe that's why I feel like I've seen
I
it.
could. Yeah, there's a load of different things you can like say this got inspiration from. Like, or don't know about the fairy liquid inspiration in terms, but like it's very. Yeah, but yeah. But yeah, like the suspense for it, like thing back in the day. I think because it was quite dark as well in terms of like its like the genre. Like at the time, you had a lot of shonen stuff going. Oh bloody hell! When you look at 2010, you had like what was it? Bleach. You had One Piece, Naruto, like Gintama, Nisekoi, Kuroko no Basket. Like so many of these series were like kind of more upbeat kind of
Yeah.
series.
Well, I mean, in general, for Jump, it's not common to see like that much of a darker series
Yeah,
because I feel like even by today's standards, like yeah, okay, we got some like more supernatural stuff, but it's still not quite like. I still feel like this is on the darker side of even
yeah.
like modern Jump.
A suspense like manga as well. Like this kind of thing. Like you don't. It's one of those ones where like these days you can imagine this appearing in something like Jump Plus or something.
Yeah, I can see what you mean. It's in that sort of vein of like we want it to be sort of like serialized and come out fairly regularly, but maybe not in the main magazine.
Yeah, in some ways you can see this working as a monthly manga rather than a weekly one. Although, like I don't know,
Yeah,
it works. It worked both ways.
I feel like it definitely came out at the right time though, because
Oh,
like
absolutely, yeah.
now, if it came out now, I feel like too many people would be doing what I did. But
Hmm.
because Danganronpa's also got like what, like 4 games by this point and re-releases,
Yeah,
I feel like if you release this now, everyone would just be like, "Oh yeah,
this
this is just
thing.
that." So I don't need to.
Exactly, yeah. It's one of those ones as well where like obviously they've been put in a scenario like this. I'll go into the reason why it ended now, basically, because it basically it had two arcs. This series, and obviously they're trapped in the school
Yeah.
here. And once that arc ended, it felt a bit random after that. You know, like
Oh,
certain
okay.
certain series, they work well as just a one single story.
Yeah.
This kind of saw success with the first arc and kind of went with a second one as well. And the second arc did not do well at all. Like basically because you like the thing is with Enigma, like that first arc that you have, that first story, the initial story that you have, it is gripping because you're like, oh, I want to see these students get out. I want to see what their abilities are. I want to see how they
Yeah,
work together and all this sort of
there's a
stuff.
lot of mystery.
There's a lot of mystery there, and there's so many questions. But once you get out of that scenario, like I won't say that I won't tell you I won't say how they get out or if they get
Yeah,
out
yeah, don't
or
don't don't
whatever
say anything.
happens.
I might actually keep reading this because
Yeah.
I did quite enjoy it.
Oh, yeah, it's okay. But like once that scenario ends, you create another scenario, and then that scenario just didn't pop off. This is one thing. So yeah, bits and pieces from this. I won't again. I'm trying to give the most spoiler free
I
way of
mean,
saying why it
it
ended
does
as
kind of
possible.
make
But yeah,
sense. Like, again, at the time, that was probably one of the first times we saw something like that. So, like, I could understand why trying to follow up such, I again, like a strong first arc, right? Where there's just you want to know everything, and everything is like just hitting, you know, like the mystery, the puzzles and stuff. But like, even so, I don't see how you could follow up with a second
yeah,
one.
yeah. I think I always think of it a little bit like Death Note in some ways. Like you finished Death Note, right?
No, I didn't.
Oh, okay. Well, this is awkward then.
I sort of know how it ends because of
Yeah,
just media in general, but
yeah.
like I've
I
never
mean,
actually
that's
personally
that's the one
finished it.
thing. I'll in the most again the most spoiler free way possible. Like the thing is, Death Note. Everyone loves Death Note. It was like it's
Yeah,
literally like a thing in itself. It ended like years and years and years ago, but people still love it. But like everyone kind of remembers Death Note as the first half of it being the best part. Like the second half of it kind of dips off a little bit, and I think that's because you have a certain scenario, which has been pitched so well, and then you go into something afterwards, and it's like, oh, okay, this isn't as good as the first half because obviously you set up such a intriguing, mysterious scenario, which is gripping,
yeah,
and then you try and follow up with a very separate thing. Like, obviously, you got that main character, which is always going to drive it, but it depends on how well the scenario is set. With these certain mangas, it's not necessarily the character which draws you in, it's the actual setting itself. You know what I mean? Because
yeah.
He's an okay character, but he doesn't have much going for him as the main character. You know
Nah,
what I mean?
he's literally got the power and
Hmm.
then the weird quirk of proposing to every girl.
Yeah, and then that's basically all it is to his character. You're kind of driven by into the story by the actual story itself and the setting. Uh,
Yeah, because I mean,
yeah.
besides that, he's just like main protag. Every other thing is literally because he's like, I'm the, I'm just this protag. I need to
Hmm.
protect everybody.
Yeah.
It's
It's
just what protags do.
Yeah, it's like I have a sense of justice. Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
shonen pro tag. It's like
yeah,
100% a shonen.
literally.
Yeah,
Mm.
for a dark series, it has a very basic kind of characters essentially. Um, obviously, like they all have their like kind of all these characters have their goals as well. They all have their like I don't
I
know.
see. I think that's what made it so interesting was because, like, for example, they wake up in the school and then Enigma's like, check your right pocket, check your left pocket. Like I put
Hmm.
individual things here and there. Like Pepe was saying, like Sumio wants his parents back. That's the reward he'd get if he gets out of the school. Each person has their own power, but they also have their own motivation, their own prize that they'll get if they escape the school. And
Hmm.
you find out that each person is like a little deeper than what you see on the surface.
Hmm. Yeah.
But I've only read 6 chapters, so I've only learnt about two of the other characters, like in depth. So I've only learnt about the scared kid and the rich girl.
Yeah. It also like there's obviously you have these puzzles, which is a sense of danger as well, which these characters put into, and that's how you find out about their powers and a bit more about their backstory, like what their wishes are. Like some of them are like more basic than others, and some of them are like, oh, okay, that's interesting. But then
Yeah, I mean, scared kid was kind of like, you're overreacting a little bit. I mean, I understand his motivation, but his one to me was like, it's different than the other girl, the rich
yeah.
girl's
Yeah.
motivation. I was like, she's got reasons. I can actually see this being like a real life thing. I mean, they're both like real life scenarios, but like, I was like, one is way more like deep than the other.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny. It's like some of them are like, yeah, like you said, a bit more shallow than others. But there's some of them which are like there's certain. bits of this manga, which I find just really creepy as well, by the way. I don't know if you found it as the same.
I don't think I've got anywhere near that just yet.
I think it's like quite it's like certain bits where they look at that photo and then like they like, oh look, the photo's fine, blah blah blah. And then they look away and then the photo just turns really creepy. You know what I mean? On the phone.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
there's that really creepy face. And there's that one line as well. You know when the shadows start appearing and start kidnapping people or try to kidnap
Yeah.
people? Is that one line as well? Well, I can't remember what it is.
Oh, what, so and so son has arrived. All
Yeah.
students, please meet as immediately. Come to meet them immediately.
Yeah. Is it like Takahashi? I feel like it's a really basic name. Like
It,
it's gonna really piss me off now.
yeah.
It's so basic. That's why I'm kind of annoyed
So
that I can't
I think
remember it
it
as
might
well.
even just be like Takashi-san has arrived. All students come immediately to meet
Yeah,
them.
but that turn of phrase is just like it's one of those ones. It sounds like so innocent. It's, oh, go meet this person in the school. And it's like, no, this is this is basically code for like there's they say in the translation delinquent
Yeah.
is like in the school, but you know for a fact it's like something more sinister than that. It's like so there's a major like there's a major dangerous incident going on in the school right now. Prepare to like just board yourself up and hide. It's basically what the fucking code is.
The only time I felt like creeped out was when Sumio was saying like I felt that presence. It felt
Mm,
like Enigma was holding the whole school in the palm of their hand, and they placed something inside the school. I was like, that's when I was like, oh shit, oh my god, that's what the hell.
also, like this one thing that like this is like a scenario where they're in the school, but it kind of feels like it's in like some sort of weird parallel universe as well, because obviously they try and
Yeah,
open the doors, they can't break any of the windows, they can't escape from it. They're completely locked in, regardless, and they're in it for 72 hours as well.
72 hours. Yeah.
Yeah, so like obviously it's a school, so usually people would be in out. There'd be like a janitor or something, but like the fact that there's so much going on in terms of their like location, how they've been
Well,
locked in
that
there.
plays into it too, because at one point they're like, "Oh, it's daytime," and then they look out and there's people, but like Enigma probably has put them there because like in another panel you can see these people aren't actually moving and they're like slightly consumed by shadow.
Yeah,
So
God,
like it's all manipulated. So they've got this like false sense of hope, and it's like, oh crap, whatever this Enigma is really really in control here. Like you sort of feel a sense of despair for them because you're like, I don't really know how they're gonna
it's
get out.
it's also like questions that also arise when in the first chapter, really early on in the first chapter, his mum actually, Sumio's mum knows what Enigma is.
Yeah,
Like, so she's encountered this at some point. Yeah,
yeah, and he drew the thing. It's a skull, but the drawer is backwards, and he drew it, and she was like, "He's a chosen one," and she didn't have time to explain to him because then she disappeared.
yeah. She just walked off, didn't she? She was like, "Just prepare yourself." And he's like, "What do you mean?"
Yeah, well, because she was like, "Oh, I gotta go to work now, but
Yeah.
I'll tell you later," and then later never came because she disappeared on the way to
Yeah.
work.
Oh, the shadows got her.
'Cause she works at a cabaret club.
Yes. Uh, but yeah, that is basically Enigma, in that, like, in a nutshell. Uh, I'm just, it's interesting going back to this 13 years later because I thought this is amazing as a series when I first read it, and I still think it's actually a really good. It still has like some amazing
It's
storytelling in it,
definitely a
and
cool
yeah,
series. Like, as someone
um,
who hasn't read it, I was like,
yeah.
"Dang, this is pretty cool."
Yeah, having read a lot more manga over the 13 years is a lot clearer what certain tropes are in certain series. So
Yeah.
I think going back to it now, there's some bits where I'm like, oh, this isn't as cool as what I remember, but I'm still enjoying the story in general. Like, I think I'm still, I'm still a fan of it. I think I might continue reading it, but I also like, I can't remember how the second arc ends either. So I might just
Well, then, yeah, maybe you should read and then
yeah. Like,
You can
yeah.
forewarn
'Cause I
everybody.
remember the scenario what happens in the second arc, but I can't remember how it ends. That's interesting. I might actually do that.
It ends with a time skip and then a happy
Ah!
ending.
Oh god, it probably is, isn't it? If it's a year-long manga, oh,
See, I
yeah.
like thinking about it. You know how you were saying like this is really should have just been the first arc and then that was it.
Mhm.
In 2010 though, it wasn't as common for mangaka to just be like, "This is I'm ending it here. This is my story."
No, that's very
Because
true. It's
like
like,
the editors were always like, "Look, you got to keep going.
yeah,
We
you're
want
onto a good
more."
thing here. Yeah,
They
like
basically kept you going until it died, and then they were like, "Cool, you're axed.
yeah,
This is rubbish now."
it is a lot more brutal. And at the time as well, this is a time where like you had long running series in
Yeah.
Jump. You had like loads of long running series.
This was just before we had the whole like throwing shit against the wall phase.
Yeah, this is like before My Hero and Black Clover all them turned up.
Yeah.
Like, because obviously
And
this is
like
like
this was before Demon Slayer was just like, "Yeah, I'm done. This is it. This is as
yeah,
far as it goes."
this
And
yeah.
then Doctor Stone also was just like, "This is as far as it goes." You know what I
So
mean?
many
Like
manga was just told a story, like and within like its that parameters, and be like, yeah,
it was
that's it.
after this time period that we started getting more series that were just like, "This is my story. This is how far it goes. I've got no more to tell, and I will refuse to tell any more than that."
You can even tell some of that with like Bleach and like things like that. I mean, like there's certain things they could have just left Bleach after Aizen, but like they kept going with that. And obviously, this is exactly around the time as well where we saw Bleach's decline. This is where they went into the
Yeah.
Fullbring arc, and everyone like,
Hey, that was the best art.
okay, look, we'll get into this again. But like, yeah, this is the arc that basically like set Bleach back so many times, and this is around that time period as well. It's so true. Like, obviously, you have oh god, ugh. There you go. State of Jump. It changes over the years, changes over decades. Tell you
Well, I
that.
mean, because that was also when they were like still pretty on top, like they still had loads of series and stuff that were going good. They still had some powerhouse names, and then after this is where like a lot of them started dropping off or finishing, and then it was like, oh crap,
Yeah,
we haven't got anything to replace it. We haven't got another big name.
yeah, that was it. Like, it is literally about 3 or 4 years later when all those series started ending. Like Naruto ended, like all those sort of ones. Yeah, shit.
I feel like even though Enigma came out at the right time because this hadn't been done yet, like
Hmm.
this premise,
Yeah,
had it come out a little bit later, it might have been able to just end after the first arc. But then who's to say the mangaka didn't really want to just keep going as long as possible?
yeah. Who knows what we're like speculated here.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
We're speaking on behalf of like many other people, us making a bunch of assumptions, but like, like even if he had the option, they had the option to stop. What if they were like, no, I just want to keep going.
yeah, I think oh no, like for a series like that, like you know what Jump's like anyway. Like if a series ends in a year by author's discretion, it's kind of like what like what was the point? This is the kind of series I feel like again what I said about Jump Plus, the fact that if it was monthly and was able to spread that arc a lot further than they would do,
Yeah.
like I think it'd work a bit better. But like, who again, we don't know. We're speculating here, like what goes on. Like, he might have thought, oh, my second arc's gonna be even better than the first one. And it was like,
Yeah.
oh.
He might have thought he was onto some gold, like they might have thought like I'm untouchable. I've got
Yeah,
a great series, and then it's like,
yeah,
oh well, actually.
yeah. Rip. But yeah, I don't really have much else to say about Enigma. If there's any like final thoughts you want to give on this before we end?
Um, I would say if you like mystery and you like that sort of premise of like slightly supernatural things going on, but like a sort of like mystery death game kind of thing, bunch of weird challenges, you probably like this. The characters are tropey, but they're not like so heavily that you're like, I don't want this anymore. I'm done. Like, yes, the rich girl is Cinderella. Yes, the other first year is a bit of a scaredy cat. Yes, Sumio is very shonen protag, but like they're not overbearingly so.
Hmm.
I would have read more than 6 chapters, but I was reading this at stupid o'clock in the morning last night, and I should have gone to bed instead. So if I remember to, I would actually personally continue reading this. I was quite interested. Um, hearing what Pepe has to say, maybe if I get to the second bit, I might just drop off if I do end up reading some more. But like at least for what I read in 6 chapters, I was quite intrigued, and I was actually going to continue.
Yeah. Oh man, it's good to hear that I've recommended you something which you actually like.
Well, again, like in the previous one, as long as it's not a comedy series, I tend to trust you
Yeah.
because we do have very similar tastes, but it does differ at times. Like slice of life, rom com, comedy, like those are the kinds where we differ because I'm not really into a lot of that.
I think that's another reason why I chose this series again. Like one, because I wanted to go on a nostalgia trip, kind of. But like I also did want to get your thoughts on it as well, because like again, you didn't read this before, but
Yeah, I
like
didn't even know what this was.
yeah, like I just thought like I wonder if it would hold up today. And if you enjoy it, it means like it is. I think like again underrated. I think in that last episode, the manga through the decades, like oh yeah, maybe Enigma will come back. No, it's never coming
No.
back. But like the concept of that be so strange. Like, but I don't know. Like, I kind of feel like this could have done better. Like, could have done with a little bit more recognition. But it is what it is. It's an old series and it's probably lost in time a little bit as well. They only talking about this because I remember it. Like, let's face it.
I can
Like,
say for a fact when I was reading and doing a bit of research for notes and stuff for the episode, this is not as lost in the annals of time as Shudan was.
yeah,
This
yeah,
is
that's very
much
true.
easier to find than that.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
can guarantee you that this is much easier to find than like probably a handful of sports series I could pull out of my back pocket.
Yeah, that's a very good point, actually. Yeah, okay. I get it.
Like
Yeah.
I could probably name a bunch of series that I've read that I absolutely lost the time.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I'm like preaching to the choir here for sure.
Like
Oh man.
you wanna talk about things that I lost the time. You're talking to the king right here.
Well, I don't know, maybe for next manga corner, Nathan, you can send a couple of those my way or whatever.
Yeah, maybe I'll have to go digging. Hopefully they aren't actually lost the time because
Oh,
otherwise I'm so
Nathan,
screwed.
digging for fossils over here.
Or like, could you imagine I'd pull something so obscure out of my back pocket? It seems like I made it up. Like
I can imagine that. If anyone's gonna do it, it's like it's between the two of us. Yes, it will happen.
yeah. We've read some weird stuff, man. Some and
Yeah,
just a lot of things that died way too
yeah.
quick.
God. There you go. But yeah, okay, brilliant. Again, thank you for listening, guys. Will you check out Enigma? Let us know in the comments. I'd like to hear your thoughts as well on it. Yeah, leave us a comment, comment, keep commenting. Apparently, I've said that 3 times now. God, you've done this for like 2 years. Think I'd know it by now.
Well, if you don't want to tell us if you liked it or not, if you tried it, leave us some recommendations. I actually want to know if there's more sort of like mystery series.
Yes, leave a comment.
I think it'd be interesting to see what
Yes.
other things similar to this are out there.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, you can also find us in the. Oh, for fuck's sake! How am I referring to this?
Follow us on Twitter.
Yeah.
We find us on podcast platforms. Links in the description. And we'll catch you next time for another Cultured Boys.
Yay.
That's how it's done.
Yeah, man, whatever, man. I love my breakfast. That's what that is. Right, okay. Bye.
Bye.